How do I get my picture up? Therese, how do I get my picture up?
Down in the lower left-hand corner, is there start video, stop video? There you go.
Yep, it's
Yay.
the surgery worked.
I'm going to be muting myself as much as possible because my dog just can't stop barking.
Can I ask a question now before the meeting starts?
I don't see why not. I mean, as long as it's not on the record.
I'd like to ask under guest business.
Mhm.
Can I speak under guest business?
We can let the chair know that you need that you would like to speak under guest business.
Right.
Hold on
Yes.
for a second. Okay.
And
that's all.
then Teresa,
Go ahead, Tia.
doesn't the board then make a motion, and because we have to amend the agenda? Do we have to do that formal?
No, not necessarily, because guest business is just, it's not an action item. It's just,
Right.
is there,
Okay.
if there's any guests, usually what the chair should do is say, are there any guests? And do we have any
Yes.
guest business? So I'll just make
Okay.
sure that Chris is
Okay.
aware we have a guest who would like to speak under guest business. In fact, I'll let him know right now.
You need to go to Google to Lake Stevens city calendar. And then on today, it'll say park meeting and you click that and it will take you over. Okay.
Mr. Chair, are you with us? Chris, can you hear me? Unmute yourself. Thank you.
I was yelling at the kids, so I wanted to make sure I was muted.
I thought you were yelling at me. I've been let a bunch of people in the waiting room here, but before we get started, I wanted to let you know that Sue would like to speak or make a comment under guest business. So when we go through the agenda and we get to guest business, currently it's not on the agenda, but usually we just say, is there any guests? Do we have any guest business? And she'll raise her hand.
And Sue,
Sue, I'm sorry, what's the last name, Sue?
Fernald, Fernald.
and this is concerning,
20th Street Park.
okay, so not to cut you off early, but tonight's meeting, we are not doing any
Public
public comment on
comments.
that park because our last meeting was consumed by it. We're going to talk about it and then we will move forward from there. It's not a final deal yet. So tonight we weren't going to do any public comment on that particular park.
Mine is
And
more
Chris-
of a request to the board and staff. It's not a comment on the park, it's a request. Since, well, I'll wait till that time if you let me speak or ask.
And
I'll
we
just-
are going to have a public meeting once we get 30% design, right?
Yes, eventually there will be an open house on it. And that's where we'll be doing our public comment and stuff. It's right now still going to out to bid for design.
Yes, but my concern, can I just speak right here off the records?
Yeah, you gotta be quick because we gotta get started.
Okay, I live in Cardinal Estates that backs up to the park. There's 19 to 20 units. Only 2 people know about this park. The average age is 65 to 75. And we aren't against the park in any way. We would like a meeting with you guys and city to come out and explain, because like I said, I went house to house of the 22 units that back up to it, and only 2 of us knew about it. So it would be, I think, a nice thing if you guys could come out, meet us in the park and just show us what your plans are. Most of these people don't have computers or webs or things like that. They didn't even know a park was coming. So I was just going to request some kind of meeting that your committee and or the city people could come out to.
Okay,
Okay?
I will make sure city staff is aware of that.
Okay.
Brian, are you on here? Geez, my screens keep popping on. Is Brian on here?
No, he is not.
Okay. Colton, I thought I saw you.
Colton's here.
Oh, there he is. You don't have your camera on. Oh, there you are.
Hey, Chris,
Yes.
do we have time for our new members to just give us a little background on themselves?
Yes, I hope so.
Maybe
I
under
was
board,
gonna,
under board member reports.
yeah, it'd be under board member
Yeah.
reports is where I already have it written down, but I wanted to ask, make sure we didn't do that last meeting, because of course I missed and I read through the meeting notes and I saw you put that, but it wasn't clear whether we actually went through that. So I figure on board member
We did not.
reports.
That was,
Okay, we'll do it there. Anybody else? Anybody got anything else to the agenda before I start? Okay, Sue, you're here somewhere. Susan?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay,
I'm here.
okay, just wanted to make sure. All right, I'd like to call the park board meeting to order at 6:03. Roll call, it appears everybody but Marlene and Brian are here. We got an email from Marlene. She is out of town. So I'd like to excuse her. Brian, have we heard anything? Teresa, Jill, Russ?
I have not had any information.
I
Okay.
haven't heard anything as well.
All right, can I get a motion to excuse Marlene then? We do know her situation.
I make a motion to excuse Marlene.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
And until we hear something from Brian, we'll just have him as unexcused. We don't have to vote on that, correct, Russ or Jill? Okay, didn't think so. So moving on to guest business, as I think everybody saw, we did have one person just give us a quick little synopsis. I will talk to Russ and Jill about that at a later time. Do we have any guest business that does not have to do with the 20th Street Parks?
I kind of came in late. Was that woman about the 20th Street Parks?
Yeah, and I'll
Okay.
give you a call. I'll give
Okay.
you a call later,
All right.
Raj, and get you caught up.
All right, no big deal.
Okay. All right, moving on. Approval of the meeting minutes from April 12th. I read the part to where I had to step out. I didn't see any changes. Do we have anything from anybody else? Any changes, corrections we need to make?
Make a motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Okay,
I'm
sweet.
abstaining, so I wasn't here to vote.
That was you, right,
This
Susan?
is Susan.
Yes.
Yeah, you
Correct.
don't have to, even though you weren't there. You can still vote on it. But we will mark you as such. Okay, discussion items. Wow. Vision mission statement update, and I don't have on my sheet, I'm assuming these are all Jill. Normally I have a name. Is that you, Russ, or is it Jill?
Jill's going to take this one.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, good evening, Park Board. So I know that we have met regarding the vision and mission in the last 2 meetings, but just as a recap, we have some steady population growth, including families and children into our community. And we like to respond to that with our using our mayor and our city council's vision for parks. We like to update our vision and our mission, and it helps guide us with our efforts within the division. And it also brings us into consistency in kind of a regional context with state parks and any changes going on in our area. So at our March Park Board meeting, staff gave an overview of the changes within the community and gave a little bit of background history to help us understand the changes that are coming for our community as it relates to parks and recreation. And at the April meeting, the Parks Board decided to focus on the vision of the division first, prior to really working on that mission. So the Park Board brought forth some drafts to the visioning that we had done. And we're keeping in mind, you know, that those vision statements are aspirational in nature and they reflect a set of values for the community. They describe the ideal future and what will be in that future. And the current vision statement is the city of Lake Stevens will create diverse recreational opportunities for all ages to enjoy parks, trails, and activities and local events throughout the community with expanded access to Lake Stevens. And then some of those edits that the board brought forward were listed in the staff report. But just to kind of bring a synopsis, I think board member Heigert brought forward some text. And so I've recorded that in the staff report here. And then other comments that were made were to add a statement referring to environmental conservation and sustainability in parks development and maintenance, diversity representation, sporting events, and then adding a regional context. So staff took those suggestions and proposed a draft, and it's included for you. I'll read it for any of the guests that don't have it available. It says the city of Lake Stevens will provide varied, inclusive parks, open spaces, and recreational opportunities for all as a destination experience. We will strive to deliver high quality, well-maintained, safe and sustainable parks, trails, open spaces, and water access to enhance the quality of life for our residents and visitors, both physically and mentally. We will promote programs, events, and festivals to support economic vitality and that enrich, educate, and enliven our community that support diversity and cultural connections. So we thought we'd bring that back to you today and get any input or any thoughts and changes before we move on to getting the mission statement together.
This is Susan. I had a couple of thoughts on that. It looks really nice overall. I would clarify when we say water access to be lake access.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
And there was something else when we talked about enhance the quality of life of our residents and visitors, both physically and mentally. I've been working on another one. I just had the language in there of all ages and abilities.
Oh, and I'm sorry, Susan.
Is that somewhere else?
No, it's not, but I did want to clarify when we say water access, we also have Catherine Creek and other water access opportunities in the city. So we can call those out specifically or.
No, that's fine then. I just wasn't sure how broad that was. That's fine.
Absolutely. Thank you for your suggestions.
So Jill, this is just a play on words and you know me, I'm not the best wordsmith, but I remember doing that. We did this both at the county parks when I was there, but at my current position. With it worded, we will strive, and it says we will promote to me, the word will probably doesn't need to be in there. We strive to deliver, we promote, not we will, just we, and you, some of you guys are more smart. No, see, I can't even think the word.
Smith?
Thank you, thank you. Than I am. That was the only thing when I read through it, that seemed to really stand out, and that Sue said, and I wrote it down, but I can't read my writing, something about making sure that oh, never mind. It was in there. That was my only thing I saw that.
And this is Tina. And I just want to say, I thought that it's a really good vision statement. I thought you captured all of our thoughts really well. So good job. And the only thing that I saw that I might want to change is that the last sentence ends with that supports diversity and cultural connections. I think that would go better at both, right after both physically and mentally, and that support diversity and cultural connections, so that it ends on enrich, educate, and enliven our community.
Thank you.
Can I say something on that? It's Roger.
Yeah, go ahead, Roger.
I'm not real keen on the physical and mentality thing. I don't know if that needs to be in there or not, or be worded in a different way. But then at the end, talking to what Tina was saying, I would just wrote down, we'll promote programs, events, and festivals to support economic vitality that enrich, educate, and support diversity and cultural connections in our community.
Thanks, Roger.
Mhm.
I like that too, Roger. That works there too.
But what do you guys think of the mentality and physical? I mean, can we use different words, or do we need
Well,
to?
Jill, can you tell us what you were thinking about that?
Some of the suggestions that were brought forward, and I think in one of the draft statements, were to really differentiate between not only to bring a quality of life both physically by allowing people to interact with the spaces and exercise in them or play sports in them, but then also having quiet places, perhaps reflection, and also improving mental health with those opportunities.
This is Susan again. I had done a different sentence because I'd kind of come up with my own thing since I didn't get to participate last time. And I'm not sure if any of this is helpful, or if you could, the word or two might weave in here, but I just say, these amenities, events, and recreational opportunities will enhance physical and mental well-being and provide an accessible resource for our citizens, as well as encourage tourism and positive economic impact.
I like that too.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to kind of echo the same thing just mentioned, because I think just general wellness or well-being is a good term to kind of demonstrate the bigger picture, the more broad piece that goes, and then we're not nitpicking between physical and mental wellness. So we can, I think, use that as a way to surmise what we're trying to get at here.
But I did like the way that Susan put that mental and physical in her sentence. It was more flowing with the sentences. Before it was just kind of an abrupt mentally and physical. So.
Great, thank you.
So Jill, moving forward, do we want on the next meeting, maybe have you maybe redo it with like what Sue said, or maybe take some of the other changes that you think fit real well, maybe bring us back one or two of those ideas, and we can say, yeah, we like that, or we like this.
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, because we're pretty close.
Great.
It-
Thank you.
It's weird not seeing your picture. You get a yellow line around you.
She comes and goes on my screen.
Well, yeah, she's coming and going, and now also Mary pops up in her screen.
Oh,
I want to make sure that I have a quality picture. So sometimes if my internet starts to go, then if I kill the video, it helps.
There you go. All right, so did I miss, there was nothing else on that part of the vision mission statement, correct, Jill?
No, I
Alright.
we'll be working on, I'll bring you back some drafts as you requested, and then we'll be working on mission statement next for this particular project.
Okay, sweet. I'm going to, let's move on to discussion item number 2. It's 20th Street Ball Fields. So I talked with staff a little bit. Our last meeting, we as a board never really got to talk about it. We kind of let people, Colton, did you have something on the vision mission? I just saw you.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know how you make that hand.
I forgot to put my hand back down. I'll go ahead and do that. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. On the 20th Street, since our last meeting, we kind of took a lot of public comment, which that really wasn't a public comment. This was for us to discuss. Although with that said, I think we have some ideas. I went down and met with Russ. We took a pen and drew all over the map, just trying to come up with ideas. So at this point, I think we need to discuss what we think about it. It's going to, Russ, and please correct me, it's going out to bid for a design, but we kind of need to give guidance, correct?
Yeah, that's essentially where we're at tonight. We are getting a scope of work and a draft contract together. We'll bring it back to the park board between 10 and 30% design. And I think as mentioned in the staff report, it's our intention to do some additional public outreach. We've done some pretty targeted outreach at this point to the surrounding neighborhoods. And so this would be a more citywide outreach as it relates back to our park plan and goals and policies of the park plan.
Russ, has there been any more discussion about the dog park? Because that seemed to be the sticking point with the whole park.
Well, there's not been a discussion to eliminate the dog park. Obviously, that's part of what we want to hear from the board tonight.
Right.
But let me share my screen if I'm able to, and we can sort of walk you through what we are proposing to do. Okay, so under our development regulations for a public use, it would be required to have a 5-foot buffer adjacent to these residential areas. We're proposing to do between a 15 and a 20-foot vegetated buffer to try and respond to some of those concerns about privacy and creating additional separation from the areas. Since that last meeting, excuse me, we have heard from a few more residents, and it was, in one case, they suggested that we take the dog park and put it next to the other residential neighborhood and fill the wetland and put the playground there and then build a wetland next to their property. So there's some of the comments are getting a little bit absurd. And so a reasonable approach was, how do we get more buffer and screening in both residential areas? One, to provide some screen from the sports fields, and then the other end from the dogs. So that is one proposal that we're recommending at this point.
And Russ, this is Tina here. If I remember correctly, you brought some 3 different options to us, and as a board, we thought this was the best layout. Am I correct?
That is correct. Both the city council and the park board had an opportunity to look at some alternatives, and this was the preferred alternatives, this compact version. This isn't quite the same one you've seen. It has a few little refinements that reflect what Chair Jones and I had talked about, trying to create an area over here closer to the fields where you could have some more benches, maybe some picnic tables, as well as this larger area, trying to work within the constraints of the park with the wetlands and some of the other utility constraints on the site.
Russ,
Another
this is
thing-
Connor. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Connor.
I was just wondering, what is the approximate distance from the parking for the fields and the dog park to the actual dog park itself?
It was, I measured it out at our last meeting. Of course, I don't have that in front of me. It's less than a quarter mile.
Okay, all right, because I
And-
know that there was some concern that people had about, you know, kids that are coming through there, if there are dogs that are off leash.
Yep.
You know, I don't, you know, we don't, you know, as far as use of dog parks, most dog parks are right off of, you know, immediately adjacent to a parking lot. So I'm even wondering, to be honest, how much use the dog park is going to get. If it's, you know, even shy of a quarter mile, that's still a little bit of a walk for a lot of folks.
And there is another parking lot that will be up at the top end of this screen that would be
Okay.
even closer. And that would also be the trailhead. I would provide a couple of examples. If you've been to Willis Tucker, the current configuration, they've built a secondary parking lot. It wasn't really for the benefit of the dog park. It was more for the volleyball courts, but that puts a closer parking lot. But the original parking lot was probably a half a mile jaunt just to get there. And that was heavily used before that secondary parking lot was built. If you go down to Edmonds, they have a dog park on the wharf, and parking's not very close there either. So I think you could find examples throughout the county where there is some distance to parking.
And I'm glad that you brought up the increase, you know, with the size of the vegetation going from a 5-foot buffer upwards of a 15 to 20-foot buffer. Are those varying levels of elevation, so shrubs to larger trees that will be part of that?
So being in the utility corridor, we're going to be limited to no vegetation that's going to be much higher than 15 or 20 feet. But
Okay.
yes, there would be different levels in the canopy, shrubs and ground cover, and either taller shrubs or small trees.
Excellent. Thank you.
And on the parks, Tambark Creek, which is one of the newer county parks, I mean, it's every bit of a quarter mile to its dog park there too. So, I mean, there's several parks around here. Yeah, there's some where it's real close, but there's still some that are a good jaunt away.
Yeah, and the only reason I brought that up is that might even be somewhat of a deterrent where, you know, that the eyes of some of the residents there, that it's just going to be dogs nonstop, right behind their property. But you know, with the combination of the vegetation and the location of it, it may not get as much use as we would otherwise think.
And Russ, how many slots of parking are we talking about at the top there?
That isn't designed yet, but it can accommodate probably upwards of 20 spaces.
Oh, okay. I was
That's
thinking
not
like maybe
designed yet,
4.
so,
Yeah. Okay. It's got some space.
Additionally, too, I don't know if this was touched on, but there is another additional parking lot that we had referred to as an optional parking lot. But, and that's towards the bottom, that would be adjacent to the existing parking that we would also be actually constructing. So it would have a lot more parking than originally was in the concept, based on the feedback from the neighbors in that area.
Jill, is that the transit area we talked about, or is that even a separate,
That's
the
correct.
transit area?
And I know Russ and I spent, I mean, not a lot of time, but we spent some time. I went in, visited with him, and I mean, we kept moving stuff around and drawing new circles and squares, and he showed me a map with a lot of the the wetland stuff and trying to, I mean, I was even trying to get stuff moved to the center of the property exactly, and with the restraints through here, there was a lot more restraints than I realized, and I've walked that property from 20th Street all the way up to the RV lot.
What were some of the constraints you noticed, Chris?
A lot of it's just water, wetlands.
So
I mean-
all of this yellow area, those are all wetlands. The purple outlines are the wetland buffers. And then say even in this area where you see it appears to be high and dry, there's like a utility vault and some other utility stuff that sits in this area. And then the different towers and different things. So it's just being cognizant of the different features
Mhm.
on the site.
Yeah, I was
I
just
mean-
curious. I thought there would be a lot of different things besides just the wetlands.
Well, if you got the towers, I mean, even if you look at where Russ's mouse is now, if you look directly to the left where the ball fields are there, when we early on constructing that, there's a big vault there. It was tiered, and part of the problem was there was a big vault there, so they weren't able to make it a bigger, one big flat because of that vault. So they went out there and were able to work around that. I believe part of that became parking, correct, Russ, because of that vault?
Yeah, so it can have the different elevations.
Yeah.
So that,
Thanks.
the trail over the wetlands, is that gonna be an elevated type bridge, or is it just gonna be like a boardwalk, or?
In this area, there's already a break between these wetlands and a access utility road, and there's already a culvert here. So the trail just maintains that
Okay,
same connection that's existing. And up in this upper area where we do the wetland crossing would be a bridge
okay.
that would totally span the wetland and not
And
have
where-
direct impact.
And where was the problem that the residents were saying that was flooding out in the rain season?
Down in the wetland area.
Okay,
So is that something, Russ, we may have to look at doing a boardwalk or something? When I walked it, it was a fairly drier part of the season when me and our Little League president walked it. I didn't have any problems walking through there, but then again, it was springtime or almost summer, so it was dry. Is that something in the future we may need to do so that people aren't walking through the water?
It doesn't appear to. If you stay on this alignment, there's already a culvert here. There's already some grade elevation several feet above
Okay.
these areas. And so if you're staying on the trail and not going out into the wetland or wetland buffer, you shouldn't be getting in waterlogged areas. I will say there's a lot of informal trails through this area. So that's probably what people are encountering.
Got it.
And will the trail be a soft trail, not a hard, not pavement, right? It will be,
No, it would be a paved trail to allow for
it
bicycles.
is paved. It is paved. Oh, okay.
And is that culvert gonna be wide enough to accept the paving to be able to get walkers and bicyclists through the same area? I mean, it's not like a 8-foot culvert. It's something that we can put a wide enough trail, like, for instance, the Centennial.
It would be an 8 to 10 foot paved path across it. So it would be narrower than some areas, but to keep it in the footprint, we would just have to have appropriate signage up to, look for other users as you're going through this area. But you could still have two sides passing even at 8 feet and be at the minimum standard. So
Yeah, and I think that's what it is up there in Arlington. The Centennial Trail drops to 8 feet.
so is this the trail that will link, if we ever get to the link of the path through the power lines?
yes,
Okay, and does it end there? Are they planning on going even farther south?
so
Was that
what
the
we're
beginning?
doing with this trail is this is really where it starts is 20th
Okay.
Street.
All right.
And this phase, we're hoping to construct all the way to 12th, but we're designing it all the way to 8th. There's some different property acquisitions that go through 8th, and it wouldn't necessarily be a part of the park, just an extension of the trail. So that's really the next focus. Then we probably will hop back on the north end at the next phase of this again, rather than another southern connection. There's going to be the crossing of 204 is going to be sort of the most challenging aspect, and that's not all decided yet.
Okay.
Yeah, it's,
I
Russ,
noticed-
this is Susan.
go ahead, Susan.
Sorry. Okay, 2 comments. One, up by the dog park, since you were talking about increasing the buffer anyway, would it be possible to do some type of a earthen berm or something? Because I would think that part of their concerns it's acoustic, right, as well as visual. But was that something that would there be room to do that? I can't remember how wide you said that area was.
So there's already, this property already slopes up. So there already is a natural berm going up to where the
Okay.
residents are, down to where this area is. And so we would be looking to, if anything, create a little bench below those residential areas. So the vegetation would follow a natural slope.
Okay. And then the other thought I had is, since we're talking about you will end up with bikers on this trail, the way that it has the bends in it there at the top, not quite a 90-degree turn, but just something to think into, like at Arlington, when you're biking up there by the city, they've got, you know, some nice curves built into their thing. And I'm thinking you guys would do the same thing here too, so that you don't have people, you know, doing sharp turns. I'm
Yeah,
sure this is just a visual for, yeah.
The concept for this point, a basic alignment. Yeah, we'll work with the topography
Perfect.
and what we can. We just
Yeah.
know as we get to crossing the wetland, we have to be pretty far over, you know, this direction.
Okay, thank you.
The corners would help slow down some of the bikers.
That is true, Carl.
That is a
That is true.
problem, Centennial.
Well, and through areas like this too, we can also put speed limit signs like the county did with the Machias Trailhead. The guys, the bicyclists would come through there so fast, and there's a playground there. So they actually implemented a speed limit through there to try to slow the bicyclists through that section down just because of that.
Is it working?
It seems to. The bicyclists seem to go a lot slower through there now than when that first opened.
Yeah, I just rode there last night and it was pretty congested around there, but everybody, like everyone I was seeing, slows down. You also can add some little texture bumps or something. I've seen that in places too, where you want to draw people's attention to slowing down a bit.
Good idea.
Okay, well, are there any other comments, or Jill, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
I don't think so. I think you covered it all, Russ.
I have one more question. There still is a shy dog area, right? Even though it's got one big block.
Yeah, we'd still break this up into a
That
couple
little
of
bit.
areas.
Yeah, okay.
Anybody got anything else? Well, thanks, Russ. Like I said, thank you for meeting with me. And, you know, we played with some ideas, but a lot of them just, I thought I had it all figured out when I went to go meet Russ. I'm like, oh, this is easy. We just move this here or there. And he's like, see this blue line? Nope, can't go inside that. And I'm like, oh. So anybody got anything else on the 20th Street?
I might make a small suggestion, and that is try to have the shy dog park the farthest away from the houses, because those smaller dogs seem to be the yippers and the yappers. Just a thought.
Thank you, Roger.
Good idea, Raj. Okay, parks update. And again, I'm assuming that's you, Jill.
It is. I'm going to share my screen here.
Okay.
Kind of a overall update. It's a robust update. So I have a PowerPoint to show, and then my general park update directly after that. So we wanted to bring you up to speed just to all the projects that are going on in their various stages of planning and development, and just give you an overall view throughout the city of what's going on. It's a busy time, so we want to keep you abreast of that.
And Jill, let me add one comment. So we just did a similar exercise with the council that focused on all capital projects. And so what you're seeing is just the parks projects that are being highlighted, but there's a considerable amount of other capital projects also under design and construction.
Yes, there is a lot going on in the city right now. So most of you are familiar with the Frontier Heights Park, and we completed the first phase of that, or substantially completed it last year. That included the new playground, the asphalt walking path, and then the removal of that unused sports court, and then the resurfacing and restoration of the basketball court. It added also 2 picnic shelters, restrooms, and parking. And then in our future phase, which we have a grant application to Recreation Conservation Office, we have not received the final word of whether or not we've been awarded it, but that is for phase 2 of the park. And in phase 2, we have the sensory garden, more parking, the sports field irrigation, and then a labyrinth, which is that viewing labyrinth on the west side of the park. You can see the sound and Everett. So that's where we're at. We're in between phases. We do have a couple punch list items. Roger, to get back to you, the drainage has been worked on, and the crew was out there last week working on that. There's a couple little items left to be done on that park, but it's substantially complete for phase 1.
That was
Jill?
drainage was definitely, oh, I'm sorry, Chris.
No, go ahead, Tina.
Drainage was a huge, I walk my dog there and everything just seemed flooded, especially around the playground. So I was really surprised to see how much, water was standing there.
Yes.
So we're addressing that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the Public Works crew did a lot of movement in the park last week. So they tore up a section by the playground, and I'm not sure exactly what was needed for the drainage, but they did start the project. So I was out there. Russ and I met last week, and of course, we've had some beautiful weather, but there wasn't any drainage problem at that point, and it was clear that they had been working in that area. I don't know if out there with that, but
but it is going to extend not just to the playground area, but past that. I know we're taking care of the field, but there's that middle part too that needed it.
Yes. So the work that they're doing for the drainage will be for the entire park.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think you're talking that northwest corner, Tina. That's where I went and got wet.
Yes.
Hey, Jill, can you go back one screen?
Sure.
So what we were talking about earlier about, our 20th Street and making a continuous trail all the way up. Eventually that trail will have to cut through this park. And when we kind of did our layouts, as staff or Public Works or anything, put in any thought, where are we going to run this bicycle traffic to get through this park and or around this park with the way we have it designed? Or have we, I don't remember us putting any thought into that section of it.
Yes, in this park, the asphalt looped trail is part of the trail master plan. So the east side of the park, or on this picture, the right-hand side, that's already a paved asphalt trail and we plan that knowing that this trail would eventually connect. So directly across the street from Frontier Heights to the south is where that corridor lines up with this trail. So then there'd be a
So
crossing put in there.
here again, we may need to do some improvements just to slow traffic down a little bit through this section of trail.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I couldn't remember if we talked about it or not. And Roger had talked about going all the way through, and that's what made me think of it. So,
And I think Mary had her hand up.
oh, sorry, I have all my screens off when your screen comes up.
No worries.
It's not my job to speak, but I wanted to tell you all that I took Representative John Lovick to Frontier Heights Park, and he was blown away by the beautiful, beautiful job that was done there. And I recently learned that Life Point Church helped with the wood chips. So this is a community and a city project. It just was, he was thrilled. So I got his picture on one of the swings, just so you know. He was very thrilled with how good it looks. That's all.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
So North Cove Phase 2, the construction will be completed in the next couple weeks. The cost for it was 1.5 million, roughly. And that was provided by Park Mitigation Funds and then also a state grant for that. And as you know, in North Cove Phase 2, the playground there, this is mid-construction. Of course, the playground surfacing hasn't been installed. That is coming this week, I understand, but it's completely inclusive. It's accessible. All of the elements you'll be able to roll right to. And then even the play structure itself is able to be accessed by folks of all different ability levels.
And we're chasing kids out of their daily. They're already enjoying the equipment.
That is true. There's also a pretty impressive art piece in there. And I think that you guys have seen that. It's a piece of equipment that was recovered out of the lake. And it's mounted just to the left of this picture. So it's something to take a look at when you're out there. It's really turning out nice. The landscaping has been installed as well, and it looks great.
And Jill, are we a little bit behind on that project? Because I thought that was supposed to be done by the first of the month.
We are a little bit behind.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the contractors are a little bit behind.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant.
And then the Mill Spur. So this is the Festival Street that we've talked about. That's going to be on the south side of North Cove. The construction is to kick off this summer. And of course, we'll be taking the library, museum, and Butler House out, preserving the Grimm House. It will be relocated to the future site of the museum. And it'll be just around the corner where the Butler House is located in that general area now. And then the Festival Street will be constructed and the remaining Park Plaza to finish off North Cove Park.
And the Butler House is where the Family Center used to be?
It's just south of it. It's the Brown House adjacent to the boat launch parking.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So quick question about North Cove and the playground. Is there an estimated time? This says spring of 2021. I've seen May, end of May. Is there an estimation?
The best estimation that I heard as of today was that it will be open and completely available by Memorial Day weekend. They're shooting for ahead of that, but just in case there's punch list items or if there's any, anything that needs to be redone, that they're pretty safe saying it's a go for a Memorial Day weekend.
Awesome. Yeah, because I know my kids who live right around the corner. That playground's been up and done for like a month and a half. It's been a huge tease.
Yes, it has. The playground surfacing is due to be installed, I believe, this week on Wednesday.
Awesome.
But as we know, these things get delayed every once in a while, so we'll see. So we've already discussed the 20th Street ball fields tonight, but we are looking to kick the project off this summer. And it does include the parking and playground, dog park. The ball fields will continue, and some landscaping, and then that asphalt trail. So in 2022, there's projects that are under design or pre-design. Of course, Roger, you'll be happy to see they're at Eagle Ridge Development. So the cost estimate is around 1 million to 1.5. We do, we're pretty certain we have the Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, and other grants are pending, WWRP, and then the city's portion there, depending on what the final cost is. We would be looking to start this project or kick it off in summer of 2022. And this plan includes the amphitheater, outdoor classroom, it's the same structure, it will be a dual purpose, and then nature themed playground and restrooms. There's also some paved walking trails that will go around the Great Lawn up there, and some improvements for landscaping and those things. So other parks, of course, is the North Cove guest moorage for the boat slips there. Replacing the docks and doing some improvements at Davies Beach. Sunset Park, when it's part of the city's list of parks. And then something kind of new, which is exciting to us, is Russ has been in contact with the Cedarwood Homeowners Association. This neighborhood is located generally around the Chapel Hill Fire Station. If you take 99th South, then you would make a left on 5th Street. They have a clubhouse in there that they have not been able to utilize, and I'm not sure exactly what the reasons for that is, but they would like to donate that to the city. So this is exciting on a lot of levels, because as we're expanding recreation, we don't have a place right now that's real suitable for classes and exercise opportunities and other rec programs, like the after school fun stuff that's in an indoor area. So with this would give us the flexibility so that all of the meetings and the events are not held in the mill. And so, and it's very centralized to the city. So it's pretty exciting. We're at the beginning stages of that, and Russ is looking at next steps to transfer ownership over. But then we would be rehabilitating that clubhouse and using it for a rec center. Then the Centennial Woods, of course, this property we've talked about at some of our recent meetings. This is the property that's adjacent to the Centennial Trail, and looking at constructing a pump track, some walking paths, climbing wall, parking lot, and picnic areas. And it's also adjacent to the Puget Sound Energy property. And so Russ has been in some discussion with Puget Sound Energy regarding rolling their parcel into this bigger kind of a picture for this connection to downtown.
Jill, on that picture there where it says city-owned Puget Sound, the road at the very bottom, is that 16th?
Yes, at the very bottom, this is 16th.
And then that's,
very top is 20th.
okay.
It's a pretty large footprint there. And then the power line, of course, is, or the pipeline is through here.
Okay.
Have you heard anything from the people that want to put in that pump track recently?
Yes, they're very interested. So the city is looking at, Russ just took this to, it's kind of fresh right now. He just took it to city council on Tuesday, and we're looking at next steps. Of course, knowing too, all of the other projects that that are presented. And then the next step on that is to decide whether or not to pursue the Puget Sound Energy parcel. And then based on that, we would be ordering a critical area study to see what usable footprint we would have in that.
Okay.
Jill, I take my, I do the running club at North Lake.
Uh-huh.
I run through the Centennial Woods twice a week. And looking at the proposed plan, it said Bijou Bike Park. I'm assuming that's not the actual proposed site plan for Lake Stevens?
No, that's the, it was just a concept from the Bijou Bike Park, just to give ideas of, how those were set up and in relation to each other of the amenities.
Because I was just thinking, wondering whether and maybe we're not even at that phase, but the proposed plan that they're putting forth, does it include still that walking or running path?
This particular one, it has a looped, just, shown as a looped trail around here, but any plan that the city is looking to put there would include maintaining that connection to Centennial Trail, and then also, of course, having that looped path or any type of a pathway, running path around it or through it. So once we get that critical area study, it gives us an idea of where to position things, where they're not interfering with each other, and then also going with the natural topography and shape of the parcels. So Lake Stevens has really put an emphasis on these trails through all of our park development projects. And I think that they're, really a great asset, and they're definitely used in the community. So we try to incorporate those absolutely everywhere that we can. Okay, so and then beyond 2022, there's project under construction, pre-design. So South Lake Stevens multi-use path, we have constructed that portion of it from East Lake Shore down South Lake Stevens until about the 1800 block. And we did receive some funding to complete some more phases of that. So looking at 2021 for design, and then 2022, it looks like, and Russ can expand on this, that we received some state funds in the budget to install sections of it shown on this map. So that connection from 18th, like I mentioned, down to where that developer on South Lake Stevens has already constructed part of the path, and then on across Highway 9, and then up back to 20th, which would then make it pretty close to the West Side Trail that we discussed through the 20th Street Ballfields property.
Yeah, I think that's a great explanation. And the funding actually is in two parts. Some of the funding for design is for everything from the city limits east out Machias down to this crossing that Jill described. And then construction dollars in this phase would be that length, section down to Highway 9. And then I have some federal grant applications in right now then that would construct that other portion going east. So hopefully those show up too, and we could do a really large project all at once. But as it sits, we have the funding for this next phase for design and construction.
Russ, this is Susan. Was there a turn circle going across Highway 9, or
Yes.
what was the plan for that?
There is a planned roundabout crossing Highway 9, and with that, there would be pedestrian crossing areas, part of that on the north side of the traffic circle.
Great,
Hey.
thank you.
Hey, Russ, on that trail, and I know we're still ways out, but instead of crossing that traffic circle, is there a way of crossing under Highway 9 where the bridge already is and coming into 20th Street up further? Does that make sense?
Probably not without some pretty extensive structural work.
Okay.
So next on the list is Main Street. So we have design going on 2021, and then looking at some right-of-way acquisition in 22, and then construction in 23. This is a photo from the beautification plan. So it's always been, planned for the improvements of Main Street. And we'll finish it off, so to speak, with the mill and North Cove Park, and then on around the Festival Street and then Main Street. So that's an exciting project.
I have a question for you, Russ or
Sure.
Jill. You know, years ago, not too far ago, it sounded like the whole attention would be on the going into Lake Stevens right there at 9 and 20th.
Uh-huh.
Is that still a thing that they're looking at, or are they looking more to shift it back down to downtown? Because I remember they were saying they wanted to make that, you know, access area like the opening into Lake Stevens.
Both are true. I mean,
Okay.
coming into at Highway 9 and, 20th, where that new traffic circle will be, that will have the new gateway sign entering the city from that southern corridor, through the build out of the downtown plan. Main Street will go all the way up to Highway 92. So that'll be the entryway at some point, over the next 20 years from 92 going south. So both of those things are very true.
Question on, so 20th Street westbound, I'm sorry, 20th Street eastbound, as you're coming up to the proposed roundabout, right now, there are, I'd say actually even as of right, this very moment, there are likely 8 vehicles that are backed up sitting on 20th, getting ready to go into the Chicken Drive-In. And those cars will sit there for 20 minutes right on the road. And it causes it's a bit of a problem. Is that going to be addressed?
Jill, will you go back a slide?
Sure.
So if you want to take your cursor, Jill, over to where that traffic circle is.
Mm-hmm.
So that is skewed to the north, and the right of way shifts to the north there to, number one, preserve the Chicken Drive-In as a city landmark. And it will also allow for new queuing capacity into that site to try and deal with that issue that you're talking about.
Okay, just so to get all those cars off of the street.
Yep.
Is that correct, Russ?
Yeah, that's one of the goals, is to improve, access into there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been getting bad lately.
They must have really good food.
They got really good shakes.
Good fries.
Well, and more people working from home, I think they're getting hit at all hours.
Yes. So the museum, I know that there's been some questions about their facility. There is some plans in the Festival Street for the museum's shell building. So the description is the new 5,800 square foot 2-story museum. And then you can see the Grimm House there on the right-hand side of the graphic. So those will be connected. And then the museum or the Historical Society will be putting all the interior improvements together. And that is all I have for that portion of the park update. And of course, it killed my other screen. So now I will bring up the rest of it.
That museum would be staying in its approximately in its current location.
It'll be moving. Are you familiar with the Butler House? It's the Brown House. It'll be in that general vicinity. So moving just across the Festival Street and down a couple parcels.
Almost directly across from the War Memorial.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So then of the other info that I had, of course, on the park board, you guys are working on your mission and vision statements. There has been additional trees added to the North Cove Park landscaping plan. So there were some changes and a couple things were shifted around, but it resulted in adding some more trees. And then our park board member, Brian Heigert, has donated a giant sequoia. So it will be in the park as well, between the parking lot and the stream. So we're excited about that. Davies Beach, Rustic Cork and North Cascades crew have adopted the park through the new Adopted Community Plan. And they are going to be performing their day of service on May 17th. So they're going to be doing all sorts of odds and ends, planting some annuals and looking at replacing the furniture out there. So that's exciting. That's our first park adoption under the new Adopt a Community plan. Centennial Woods, we did talk about that regarding the Puget Sound Energy parcel and then the critical area study. Caballero should actually be wrapping up their construction. They were able to successfully repair the large bowl at the skate park. And then all of those sidewalks around it that were chipping up little rocks and pebbles into the bowls, those have been replaced.
Sweet.
So go ahead.
No, I said sweet. My kids wiped out on those pebbles a couple times, so.
Yes.
I've got a question, Jill. Have they set a date for the grand opening? Because I mean, it's getting better and better, you know, COVID wise, that maybe we should think about it.
Think about what?
Having the grand opening at that park, dedication.
Oh, yes.
Because I know it's been put off because of COVID, but things seem to be getting better and better that, you know, maybe the time is to announce it. I mean, everyone knows about it, but, you know, announce it to the media and everything else.
Yes, we've had so many things. We've had Frontier Heights Park and North Cove, or the Mill. We've had a lot of our ribbon cutting, and even Davies Beach. Remember last year in April, we had that scheduled and it got postponed as well. So yes, I'll work with the CDC guidance and see when we can have those ceremonies. I know that we're still planning on having them where they're just delayed.
Okay.
And for events, recreation, and culture, there has been an interested group that they had submitted an RFP back when the RFP was open for a suicide awareness fun run. So it's a 1K, 5K, and a 10K. And so I met with them. I did a walkthrough for North Cove and looked at the areas that they would be able to utilize. And it looks like, pending COVID, of course, that it will be held in August at North Cove and on Main Street. There's also our free Tai Chi class is being held on Sundays at noon. That's at North Cove Park. There is a 6-week fitness challenge and mixed fit available at Lundin at varying times. And then hydrology stand-up paddleboards will be doing their yoga on paddleboards and other programming, as well as renting out kayaks and paddleboards beginning Memorial Day weekend. And Skyhawks has been running their soccer camps, but they will be providing their summer camp programming beginning as soon as school is out in June. And then a member of the community contacted me. He has a grand piano and kind of a robot system that unloads the piano. And he's interested in doing free piano music at North Cove, just ad hoc, you know, for a couple hours here and there. So I'll bring you back info on that. And then our RFP also solicited a proposal from a community band. And so they're looking at organizing and getting their first performance, possibly at the farmer's market. So exciting stuff. That is all I have. Oh, one other thing. I'm not sure if I mentioned this at the last meeting, but we have installed our first Purple Heart sign for our Purple Heart community. Our Veterans Commission has designated Lake Stevens as a Purple Heart city, or the City Council has, of course, the Veterans Commission brought that forward. And we have signs that indicate that we're a Purple Heart city, and we're going to co-locate those in our entryway signs. And so some of them have gone up. The first one I know that's gone up is in Machias. That's exciting. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question about the museum.
Yes.
So is the entire 5,800 square feet, the proposed 5,800 square feet, is that all dedicated to just the museum?
Yes.
Okay.
My internet was crashing for a minute, so I turned off my camera. Yes, the 5,800 square feet would be entirely for the Historical Society. The bottom floor would primarily be exhibits. Upstairs, they would have a boardroom and some things like that. And I know they would like to have some exhibit space upstairs as well.
Do we have any idea of visitorship to the museum over the last couple of years?
I don't have that information today, but I can certainly bring that back.
Okay, yeah, because just to have like a conversation around cost benefit, obviously the need for, for a museum, but if to even strike the conversation around having some mixed use where there's maybe some dedicated space in there for, like, a lot of museums, they have little cafes or shops that are leased out to private companies that, I'd really like to see space used down there to really act as a draw. I do question the visitorship of the museum over the years, whether or not, just having a standalone museum is going to be that draw.
And
there's enhancements that can be added that are that will kind of round out the museum. I don't think there are any museums being built today that don't have, like I said, a little bistro, a cafe, something that accompanies it.
And I appreciate your comments, and that's a conversation we've been having with the Historical Society pretty regularly. And I will say right now, the Historical Society is in packing mode and sort of closing up the existing museum. So we didn't want to burden them with anything else right now, but we are going to be going out and having a community survey pretty shortly. So at this point, the building is only to a shell design phase and site plan, but the internal stuff, we want to have that conversation and do an outreach to the community to find out, just like you're suggesting, do we want to have some space for small cafe and expanded gift shop? So that's definitely a conversation we are having.
And I think visitorship will go up too, not once the park is open, because there's more for people to go down there and do instead of just going down and just, it used to just be a big field and, the lake, but now there's all kinds, there's, shelters and picnic areas, playgrounds. So more people are going to go and they're going to go, oh, there's a museum, and they go in. But before it was just kind of set off to the side. And if you didn't know it was there, you'd never even think about it.
It's going to be much more visible in its new location, certainly, and inviting.
Yeah. This is Susan Ross. I had a question on, so for the museum and or like the row house, I mean, how does that work when you have nonprofits? Are they leasing the space, and how do we prioritize with that?
Yeah, they are tenants. The Row Club, they will be leasing the property. They own their own building, but they are tenants and lease from us. Just like at Davies Beach, the other Row Club, they lease that building and space from the city. The same would be true of the library today, the museum. They are tenants in our spaces through different types of agreements.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Jill?
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
All right. Well, board member reports, I'm going to hold off on that right here. I would like to start with, well, Connor, your mic is on. So we have two of our new park board members here, Connor Davis and Colton Whitworth. I encouraged them both to apply. I've known both of them for several years now. So I'd like to maybe have Connor, we'll start with you, have a little introduction so everybody else knows what I know about you.
There's a lot that you don't know, Chris.
I know.
Yes, Connor Davis. I'm a teacher here in Lake Stevens, over at North Lake Middle School. My wife, Heather, is a teacher at Mount Pilchuck Elementary. We have two boys, Anthony and Nathaniel, both at Mount Pilchuck as well, 3rd and 1st grade, respectively. We moved here, it's 3 years ago now, from St. Petersburg, Florida. We moved from the Sunshine City of the Sunshine State to Lake Stevens, Washington. And I'll tell you, people complain about the weather here. I don't think they've lived anywhere else. Everywhere has its ups and downs. But we really do. We love Lake Stevens. Before teaching, I worked in politics and nonprofit management. I've always wanted to teach. My wife, who's been a lifelong teacher, she was very encouraging of the process. And we made the determination that I was going to leave the 80-hour work weeks and our home in Florida. And we were moving cross country, following many dreams of ours. And we both landed up here in the Lake Stevens School District. We feel like we've just totally lucked out. I got to meet Chris, who lives down the street. He knew immediately that I was really interested in getting involved with in some capacity, particularly with parks. It was a lot of my volunteerism back in Florida was around the same, getting involved with municipal boards and our parks board. So I'm super excited to be a part of this, and look forward to formally meeting y'all sometime in the future. I don't know when is our first live meeting together.
We got to ask the CDC on that, but hopefully soon.
Lake Stevens Brewing Company next, right? Wait, this is recorded. I'm sorry.
Colton.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Connor. I think Connor and I are both in similar shoes, because I was actually looking at his house when I was shopping around before I was ready to actually pull the trigger on something. So we ended we're residents of Lake Stevens pretty much around the same amount of time. So originally I'm from Reno, Nevada. I live here with my fiance. She's an attorney out of Everett, with my two kids, Kieran and Corlai, which also Connor already knows, as being the teacher he is. So, but yeah, I came. I was in the Navy for a while, and I was based out of Oak Harbor, and I really liked the Pacific Northwest. So after that, I finished up school. I went to undergrad in Nevada, and then grad in Oregon State, and then I did wildlife work and for the USGS for a while, and found my way into the Forest Service, which I still currently work, and did more wildlife work, a little bit of, I managed the district office out of Skykomish for a while. And then now I do public affairs. I got away from some of the introverted stuff and now do legislative and public affairs for the Forest Service. So yeah, I think that's me in a nutshell, just to give you the quick and dirty version. But I'm very glad to be here. I currently work, as you see my background, I'm in a coalition for what was created as the byproduct of COVID, the Recreate Responsibly Coalition, which is a group of folks from WTA, DNR, and a number of other organizations who are looking at trying to help to mitigate the new phenomena that we're seeing, which is huge numbers of recreators and outdoor recreators coming to forests and those types of places. And they're really kind of creating a new bubble of concern for many of the other users and residents and different user groups. So you'll probably hear me bringing a lot of what we talk about maybe into our board meetings, but anyhow, I'm just glad to be here and just loving Lake Stevens, and I'll be here for a very long time if I have anything to say about it. So thanks, everyone.
All right. Well, welcome, Connor and Colton. Thank you. When I reached out to you guys, I said there was an opening, and both you guys applied, and I was happy to hear your names. So with that said, Tina, do you have anything?
I do. I was wondering, Jill, if you can tell us about the request for proposal on the art in the tile.
As
The
soon as
North
I
Cove.
Yes, as soon as I finished my report and I saw you, I go, oh, shoot, I forgot to. So that closed last Friday, and I know that we've received at least one proposal. I have not confirmed if we've received any others via mail. So I will
Okay.
be posted on that.
Okay, so that closes Friday. How soon do you think we'll get together and look at the
proposals?
on the proposal? Thank you.
Yes, I don't think it will be long. Like I said, I want to make sure that we didn't get any postmarked that came in, and then we can go over next steps.
Okay, all right. We have the Art and Park Foundation on Wednesday, so I thought I'd bring something to them.
Great.
The community band that you mentioned is going to play June 30th at the my brain's done.
Farmers
At
Market?
the
Farmers Market.
Yeah, Farmers Market. Thank God this is like, I'm having a tough time. And do we partner with the school district at all about the Oasis at Mount Pilchuck? Or is that just the school districts?
It's owned and operated by the school district. I know that I have reached out to them and said if you wanted to put together a volunteer group, then I'd help facilitate that. And the city, is talked in the past about sharing like a playground inspector, but it is owned and operated by the school district, and they do get to make all the decisions on that.
Would you be open to talking to the PTA president?
Sure, with questions about it?
Yeah, she just wants to see if she can help get the school district to do something with it, to fix it.
I know that Mount Chuck is working on a fundraiser.
They are.
To do some playground work out there. And so to the extent that I have information, I'd be happy to share.
Yeah, to whatever you can do. So at least she's feeling, I work with her, and so she's feeling frustrated, but they're trying to get swings out there is what they're working on. And then the last, go
Tina,
ahead.
on that Oasis too. So I had a meeting out there at the Oasis with Randy Salori, and he was, I'm assuming he's still at the school district. If Marcus is Marcus,
like operations and security guy.
Yeah. So I met with Randy, and I met with another gentleman, and I forget his name now, that when we did that Oasis originally, he was partially involved. And I know they were looking at, now this was pre-COVID, we were looking at what would need to be done. And he kind of had the ball rolling on that a little bit. So
So maybe I need to put her in touch with you so she knows who to get in touch with at the district, because she's just not
what
getting
position
anywhere.
does he hold, Connor? I know he was the safety office.
Yes, safety and operations.
Okay.
And he might be able to help out a little bit too, because he was doing some research on it and called me and asked me to come down, just because I was there when it was originally built, and then plus I was on the park board. So
I know that there's some issues with the pylons and the footings, and what once you peel back the onion, there's a lot of wood rot in there.
Yeah, they just lost another board this week, or last week. So it's a wonderful thing, but it's in lots of disrepair. And then the last thing I have is back to the mission statement, and I didn't bring this up, but it would be nice if we also had some kind of focus on art, that we want to bring art into our parks. And we have, there's only one piece of art that I could find in the city, and that's at North Cove. And now we have another one, I just think that we need to include art in some part of it so that we're looking at things culturally as well.
Tina, I was going to ask too earlier, if you don't mind me interjecting, but I drafted a few pieces that we could maybe, a number of different ideas that kind of gather up the mission statement as well as vision and some other items. And I was wondering if that's something we should send to you, or should we send it to everybody? How, if we're coming up with pieces of this mission statement, who should we run them by?
Please just send it to staff and then we'll bring it to the group. So we're square with public records and public meeting requirements.
Great, thanks.
So just real quick, and on that, Colton and Connor, so when we get our emails about our meetings and stuff, the reason why we want to send that stuff to staff sends it out to us. We don't want to be sending that stuff on a reply all email just because of the public records requests and stuff. So that's part of the reason we send, when we have these ideas, we'll send them. I usually send my stuff right to Jill, and then she takes it to where it needs to be, and then we'll bring it back. So we got to be real careful when we get these emails from Teresa not to reply all and it start attaching documents and stuff to those. So all of us had to go through that public records class, and I'm sure you guys both working for the school district and the federal governments had to do it, but that's kind of the reason why we do that. So
It's
Yeah,
keep from hitting
great,
a
thanks, Chris.
quorum.
what's that, Carl?
Keeps from hitting a quorum.
Correct. So anything else, Tina? I'm sorry, we kind of,
No, thank you.
okay, Carl?
Nope, all's fine.
All's fine, good. Roger?
Yeah, I just like to say that I'm pretty excited about that clubhouse, because if the envision is still to have a park and recreations department, that's the part that could hold classes and stuff like that. So I think it's a really good idea to, take control of this and go with it. Nice job, Russ.
And maybe, Raj, we can get one of these days together with Russ or Jill and maybe go up and take a look at it.
Yeah.
Kind of bring back to a park board and what we saw too.
Mhm. That sounds good.
Susan?
I
You
just
got
wanted
any-
to say, yeah, just thank you and welcome, Connor and Colton, for coming on board. It just seems like you're great additions and really round us out nicely. So thank you for joining and contributing.
Thank you, Susan.
Connor?
Oh, no, I was raising my hand and just.
Oh, no,
You like to
so
raise
we're
your
on board
hand.
reports,
Too
so I
much
just
school.
go through and see if anybody's got anything.
Sorry.
Well, the worst thing about when I call on Connor is I want to call him Mr. Davis. He's my kids' teachers. I'm not Mr. Davis, I'm Connor.
That's why he always just raises his hand.
Colton, you got anything to add?
No, I just want to say thanks for the warm welcome, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Glad to start providing some input where I have it, if I have it. But yeah, thanks and happy Monday.
Sweet. The only thing I got to add is Jill called me. I thought it was kind of cool. Our baseball field down there, Bonneville. I know we're still working on the logistics of getting that into the city, but Jill was reached out to by, it's the Well Church, and they needed more area for their food distribution. And I saw some pictures of that, and they're using the parking lot in the morning hours, since of course we're not playing baseball in the morning on the weekdays. So I thought that was kind of cool that, they reached out and we were able to provide a spot for them. So, and hopefully real soon at that facility, you'll see the new scoreboard go up. So I'm really excited. It's got the Pugsley name on it. Unfortunately, Dave Senior passed away before he got to see the board. He passed away a couple weeks ago, but Dave was a big part of our community, school board member, school board president for Lake Stevens. So I'm excited to see that board up there with his name on it. So
Get your building permit.
I'm just replacing the old one. Took the old one off the brackets, putting a new one on. So, but yeah, it's going to be exciting. The Pugsley family's been a big part of our community. If it wasn't for them, that ball field wouldn't even be there today. So Pugsley and the Holbert family is the first Little League president for Lake Stevens. They were instrumental in getting the lease when we were able to build that field. So I'm really looking forward and excited for that. So other than that, I don't have anything else.
I make a motion we adjourn.
Well, is Marcus still on here?
He is not, but Councilmember Dickinson is.
Yep, I was gonna go to Mary next. Mary, you got anything to add?
No, but I just want you to know how proud I am of our parks and our recreation that is so critical in a town that has so many young people. I doorbelled in my campaign, talked to a lot of people, and if the kids came to the door, that's what they said. We want more parks. That's what I heard many, many times. So you're doing exactly what the young people want us to do. And I appreciate all this hard work. It's a great joy to watch you working. And I'm very grateful that we have Jill and Russ Wright in the game. So that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, we couldn't do it without him. So we don't have anybody have anything future agenda we need to add now? If not, you can email it to Jill and Jill can get it on there. Other than that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Tina, second. All in favor? Aye.
I,
Aye.
Aye. The rest that want to stay, Teresa's going to shut you off anyway. So,
he wants to go home.
all right, everybody, have a good night. Thank you.
Thanks.
Night.
See ya. Good night.
Thank you.